Welcome back to A Bite from the Money Sandwich, where we provide practical and easy to understand tips and ideas on how to manage your money better, so as to let you retire with comfort and on your own terms. What does a happy retirement really look like? And is money only part of the answer? Today I'm joined by Mandy Mannix, Principal Advocate, Retirement at Challenger, about the latest happiness index for retirees and the factors that contribute most to well-being in later life. Mandy shares why volunteering is strongly linked to happiness, why so many retirees worry about running out of money, and how financial certainty can play a key role in reducing anxiety. We also discuss the importance of planning ahead, the value of financial advice and education, the retirement concerns facing many Australians, and how lifetime income solutions can help provide peace of mind. If you want to understand the connection between money, purpose, and happiness in retirement, this is an episode not to miss. Well, hello, Mandy, and welcome to our show.
Hello, Mark. Thank you for having me.
I really enjoy this happiness index that Challenger have been doing, because it's been going now a number of years. So you're starting to see patterns. Can you may as well just start with what was some of the things that really stood out this year at your retirement happiness index?
Yeah. So when you say stand out, I think there's really two things, and one's a little new, and the other one is absolutely, as you say, there's a trend. So the first that really stood out was volunteering, and the second that was a trend was that this sort of concern about cost of living, this uncertainty about money came up again. So let me just take a little step back and give a bit of context. So the
Please.
index for the year was 69.5, and that's saying, retirees are pretty happy. It's up a little bit on last year, but it's generally speaking, we've got a happy cohort, which is wonderful and very important. But volunteering really stood out, and people that volunteered were the happiest of all retirees surveyed, all retirees. And what we find is when you look at the sort of pillars of happiness, one of them are the leading ones are activities and hobbies and mental health. And I think it's a virtuous circle with volunteering. So when you volunteer, you typically have a purpose. And so then that feeds back into, some of those really, wonderful things that drive happiness. But as I said, 77 number against 69.5, the volunteers were that much happier.
Wow.
Um,
And that's significant because one of the things I really admire, we had a chance, my wife and I, to go around England last year for a couple of weeks, and you go to all these stately homes and museums and churches with the volunteers, the
yeah,
people, and they had purpose. They knew every morning when they woke up exactly where they were going to be, what they were going to do, and telling people about something they obviously love and enjoy talking about. And I thought, we should have more of that in Australia. So it's great that that's something that the surveys picked up on.
yeah, definitely. And we'll keep promoting it because it's a wonderful thing. The flip side is that more than half of older Australians, so this is the 60 years plus that we survey in the happiness index, um, worry about running out of money. And this is consistent. So it's not just because we've had, inflation fears flooding the press. It's not because cost of living, everybody's talking about cost of living going up. Of course it is. But this thematic is consistent. People, they worry about running out of money.
Do you
It's
think
an
that's
issue.
a bit more of, don't know what you don't know? So unless you actually get help and get advice, and which we know, less than 20% of people do, you don't know how long your money is going to last. And for some people, maybe 500 or 600,000 is enough. And some people, $1 million is not enough. But unless they actually get it checked out, they don't know.
Yeah. So, look, that's a really detailed question. One, do I think everybody needs advice? Not the advice in the terminology that you and I know it and, you have a career in. people that get advice do tend to, through all of our research, tend to have more confidence,
Mhm.
and that leads to them being happier. So advice is great, but I wouldn't want people to think that that everybody has
No,
to have
I
advice.
get that. Yeah.
So definitely there's that. But when you say people don't know what they don't know, I, I, I think what we've got to make sure we understand is that a human, in order to know with certainty that their money will last as long as they live, they have to know how long they're going to live.
Yeah, absolutely. That's what I was gonna say. Yep. No,
It's an
very true.
impossible question
Yeah.
to answer, and,
Mm.
I think do we definitely wanna promote, and I'll use this term with you, but not for the average person, but longevity literacy. So,
Mhm.
understanding lifespans and how they're increasing, and that's extending how long, you will spend in retirement. But what I often think of is if I look at, or if you or I, let's say we look at the actuarial tables, which everybody does, what's life expectancy in simple
Mhm.
terms? And I think it's for a healthy female 60 years old, so I'm not far off. My life expectancy is 88. So then I go, okay, okay, well, if I'm going to live to 88, then I can plan for that. But you know this, Mark, I'm not preaching, but that if that's a median, that's a statistical average. So there's 50% chance that I will live beyond 88.
Mhm.
There's actually a 25% chance based on these statistics that I'll live beyond 94. And the oldest living person today is 122. And I don't know about you, but I'm seeing some wonderful, I don't
Yeah.
think it's AI, wonderful things on, my Instagram and others of fabulously sprightly 100-plus-year-olds. So great, oh joy. And then that's just feeding that fear again that, well, how do I make my money last? So, we want to make sure that people know that, you can understand that you don't need to know exactly how long you're going to live, but if you want certainty, there are absolutely ways that you can, craft your finances in retirement to give you certainty of a base of income for life. So you don't have to pick that number.
Yeah, and I think, and we're going to talk more about financial certainty and uh, financial income streams that can provide that monthly income stream. But I do think it's still, anything like this and what Challenge is doing with the happiness index, it's just education. It's just
Yeah.
education that people, if they start understanding, oh, okay, I am going to live longer because we are healthier and all this, and I just need to be a bit smarter about when it comes to money. You don't need to go get a degree, but it's important that you want this money to last. And there's steps to do that. You've got some great calculators on your website. There's this Money Smart government website. It's got lots of great calculators. So you don't have to spend a lot of time, but it is worth that effort just to try and educate yourself. Because I always say you only get to retire once well. You want to try and make the most of it. Um, okay, so cost of living pressures. It is interesting. Do you see this is more of people don't understand what they may be expected to be paying for in retirement, or it is actually real? People are really just struggling.
Oh, no, I think it's more that they have the uncertainty
Yeah.
that they, yeah, I definitely think it's uncertain. I mean, there is absolutely research that points to people underspending as a result or a reflection on them not being sure how long their money will last. But then you also see research that says people will, retire with pools of money. So I do think it's the uncertainty, not necessarily. I mean, obviously there are people that struggle. I wouldn't in a million years not want to recognise that, but generally speaking, from the happiness index research that we have, it's that they are uncertain.
Yeah.
And when they
Uh,
have a plan, they get more confidence. When those that know about, different retirement strategies that include certainty, that they demonstrate a greater level of confidence and then a greater level of happiness. But money's not, sorry, you want to speak, but I just want to be clear. Money, like when we look at the pillars in the happiness index, the top ones, as I said before, are activities and hobbies and mental health and physical health. Money is it's fascinating because it is an enabler and it's very personal. So it's not about I need to have X amount of money. It's that I need to have confidence in the income that I'm going to get every month.
So the research also was showing that having enough money to enjoy in retirement is one of obviously the biggest priorities. In your experience or in this research, what gives people that greatest confidence when they're sort of moving from working into that? Is it that financial certainty you were talking about?
Yeah. So in that transition, as you say, it's about having a plan and having a level of confidence that you know that you will have enough to cover your day to day spending, for example. So that then gives you the flexibility to go and do the things you enjoy and to spend more freely.
Yeah, retirement for a couple is different. You know, males seek retirement different to females seek. But I'm also noticing when I was as an advisor, especially the last 10 years, that uh, especially for women, there was a lot more of a fear about retirement and money running out. Is that, I know that this probably my own personal view is that men are just oblivious to some of the issues and money running out. And, but the, can you explain some of that research when you're talking about how that fear is, especially among women?
Yeah. Well, I don't think men are oblivious. I think
Some of them.
I definitely see though that I mean we kind of know we're different, but we definitely see it coming through in the statistics. So you made the point that women have the fear. So our statistics show that being afraid of running out of savings, it's 48% versus 43% of the females versus men, for example. If we look at having certainty that money will last, this is a really interesting one. 3 in 4 women worry about that. 76% of women worry about that versus 67% for men. Um, I actually I think, we could sort of talk about all of behavioral science or the difference in the gender behavior science. But really, if you think about it, Mark, we today still we have typically lower balances because we take career breaks to have children or now I know some men do that as well, but overwhelmingly women take career breaks, so they'll have less of a pot of super on average versus an equivalent male. Often more women are in the service and lower paid sectors. So these things drive that lower balance. That's one factor. And then the second point we tell women is you're also going to live longer. So yeah, yes,
Yeah.
yes, women are going to quite rightly, quite rationally worry about it. And to be fair, and this is just my personal experience, but I think a lot of men worry about their wives too.
Mm.
So, because these are very rational things to consider when you're talking about funding retirement.
And was one of the things I did very early on as an advisor was um, I would have, if it was someone I was introduced to, a male business person, and he'd say, "If come and see me, we're going to talk about retirement." I said, "You married?" He said, "Yes." So I said, "Well, I'll only see if I see both of you,"
Yeah.
because it was important. You retire together; it affects
Mhm.
both of you. You're both either going to be anxious about retirement or have concerns. And it was one of those things I always had a box of tissues because a lot of couples never talked to each other about what retirement looked like and had very different ideas about retirement. So I think that's, and statistically, as you said, women retire with lower balances. So, but I actually have to say on the flip side, as students of finance, or if I was sort of coaching women in 50s or 60s about this, and they said, "Well, we've never done this before," and I don't know if that's historically um, women were told. My daughters were still even told at school that boys were better at maths than girls. So there's that silliness of those sort of um, history, but they were far better students of finance than men ever were. They would say, "Okay, if these are the rules, and this is what we need to do to work out our super or to how to to invest our super and for the long term. And if there's a downturn, we know we need to ride this out. They're far more rational and understanding of, okay, these are rules and my money will last if I do follow these rules. So it was more, again, education.
Mm,
And it's different when you're in this industry. You're used to it every day. But if you're not in this industry, and these are some of these women who were clients, very very clever in their fields, but just never bothered looking at their super. And
mm.
so, with a bit of education, it is important because you're right. Statistically, women have lower balances, and we need to reduce that gap. Um, One of the other things your research found that what 4 in 5, 80%, uh, enjoyed having a guaranteed income stream. And I think this is really important. And I absolutely believe over the next 10 years, there's going to be two really big um, uh, movers in this retirement space. One is retirement income streams, for that's financial certainty, which we'll talk about, but others is reverse mortgages. People are,
Oh,
especially in big cities, having have their house but don't have any have a lot of cash, and so they're asset rich and cash poor and don't want to move. So that's a separate story. But when it comes to sort of annuities or lifetime income streams, when I was advising, it was so easy to sort of recommend because I said, you stopped at 65 if that was your retirement date. You had it the first Monday of every month you received your salary. Well, when you retire, you can actually have the same first of the month. You can receive your salary again from your retirement, and it's set, indexed, all these sort of things. So you could just see people's weight off their shoulder, just relax, knowing that they've got that certainty. And I especially think since COVID and the other things that are going on, it's become even more popular. And I've now seen, as we're talking previously before, there's been a number of other companies looking at lifetime income streams, which is good that people have choice. But Challenger, you started it, you are the biggest, and you are a household name. So it's just great what you do. Can we go back to the beginning and maybe explain to people listening what exactly is a lifetime annuity or income stream?
yeah, sure. Well, thanks for everything you said, Mark. And we we don't take our position as a leader or a household name for granted. We definitely want to maintain the importance of the industry having more options for lifetime income streams for retirees because we fundamentally believe in them. But to answer your question, the way I think about it, you've made one comment around a paycheck, but I, I, I would say you're purchasing peace of mind,
Yep.
right? If you take a portion of your savings, so not all, a portion of your savings, and different people, 20 to 30%, everyone's individual, and you purchase an annuity, what you're doing is giving yourself that boost that you get from having confidence that there is an element of money that's going to last no matter how, if I live to 122, I'm still going to get that money. So let's say if I purchased a CPI linked guaranteed annuity to cover my essentials with 20% of my assets. And I think of my essentials as my grocery bill, my insurance,
Mhm.
my utilities. I can purchase that peace of mind and know that come what may, those expenses are covered for always. For always. I have certainty. Okay, breathe, relax. Now, I've still got 70 to 80% that's in my, call it an account based pension or my other investments. Now, that still has the potential to grow. And as anyone who's been in the markets for a long time knows, you can't guarantee growth. So it doesn't, it's great if it grows, you've got exposure to it, but it doesn't matter if you have a market correction
Mm.
because you've got your certainty covered. So you've got exposure to the potential for growth, but that also means you can have the freedom to then spend it on the things that you enjoy that really do bring and whatever that is, because we're all individual. And so that's why I say it's a purchase of a peace of mind. Purchasing an annuity, it's purchasing an amount of money that's going to come to you for the rest of your life, no matter what happens. It's a floor, it's a foundation, it's a sense of confidence. And that's what that's why I get so passionate about these things for people, because if on the one hand we're saying it doesn't matter how much money you've got, you're worried about running out. We're saying we can't tell you how long you're going to live. That nirvana of flexibility and certainty is possible through purchasing a lifetime income stream or annuity. It doesn't have to be ours. Doesn't have to be ours.
Mm.
Um,
And I think you've made a couple of really good points. Sorry, lots of good points, but that peace of mind, fantastic, because that's what all retirees want straight off: financial certainty. And I think one of those sort of misconceptions is that people think, okay, I've got to hand over all my superannuation to this, and then some company will just pay me an income stream, but they've got it. No, you don't. It's really important. You work out, you get advice, which is what I'm recommending, and you work out, well, how much do you want certainty or income stream, and then the rest is standard, is your normal investment. But again, I say this because it's one of those real statistics that I get on my high horse about, that of couples over 65 that have superannuation, 50% of them haven't turned off their 15% tax,
oh,
uh, which is so it's just ridiculous. But no, most super funds and government don't tell you these things. So unless you get advice or get help or do your own research, you don't know to switch it off and put it into retirement mode, as what you
mm,
just said before. So yes, when you have your superannuation, you get to an age where you're retired and you're over 65 or over 60 actually, and you now move it into retirement mode so you can live on, but you can move a portion of that into an annuity that can be absolutely for your lifetime and have that
yeah,
certainty. And I just think that's great. And just too many people don't know about it. And we need to sort of spread the word, because it is exactly right. The number one anxiety is, will my money run out? It's not, will I have enough? It's, will my money actually run out? And
yeah,
this absolutely fixes that problem. So,
yeah.
um, okay. So when you look at this, is it a matter of, um, when someone picks it, it doesn't have to be just lifetime, doesn't it? I just think there are a range of options. This is where you should get advice, but it may be, okay, I would rather more money for the next 10-year period than for my entire life, because my circumstances may change. You've got that flexibility, haven't you?
Absolutely. Yes.
Yeah.
And the industry, the lifetime income stream product choice, for want of a better term, is continuing to innovate. So I think I think that will continue. But yes, you can defer them. You can have earlier higher payments. You can have CPI linked. You can even have investment linked. Although, for me, it's you've got your investment.
Yeah.
But it's an individual thing, and as you say, get advice or guidance or counselling that suits your needs.
And I think, and I have said advice, and I always recommend, it's like, if you're going to buy a house, it's $1 million decision. Go get advice. Get anything like that. And retirement's the same. It's just, yes, you can do it on your own, but one, you probably have better things to do with your time, and secondly, someone can do it better and more efficiently, and already have that knowledge which you can use. Uh, but if they don't want to get advice, and some people just don't, um, what's some of the steps that you would see to help people educate themselves on this and retirement in general? Well, first of all, they can read your happiness index. That's a start. But after that, what are some simple tips that people could do to help improve their education?
So you've already touched on a couple of them. So you can definitely, and I think, we all approach education in different ways, don't we? We learn in different ways. And so I think it's great that there are lots of different ways you can learn and access information, but I'm also conscious that sometimes it feels a bit overwhelming. So I'd say if you are, there are definitely, you will know if you're the sort of person that wants to go and see an advisor. And please do, because I think advisors are just wonderful. They're an unsung hero profession in many cases. So there's an advisor. You can go and see an advisor. Let's say you're the sort of person that says, well, maybe I don't have any complexities. Maybe I just want to start somewhere simple. Pop onto the Money Smart, government websites. There's some really good information in there, I think,
Mm.
to kind of build a foundation for you to start layering in your knowledge. And I think it is a good way to start because um, you don't want to, if you just go out into the world and start Googling, you could find yourself getting overwhelmed. Then I think don't underestimate what's available through your super fund. Super funds are getting better and better and better at understanding their member cohorts, their member bases, and providing not only good information, but also information in bite-sized chunks and in different ways, video, reading, graphs, you name it. So they're getting really good. And then, you know, y- places like us. So Challenger has a plethora of
Really does.
information. We're just launching a Lifetime Institute to house all of our research that we've been doing over the last 20 years. Now that might not be for everyone, but it'll be there for those that really want to get technical. And if you don't want to get technical, we've got a ton of simple stuff. We've got this wonderful, and we're not alone, this wonderful Retire with Confidence calculator that can kind of help you get a sense of what you might need to retire, um, which I think is also possibly one of the things that, because we've talked a lot about what you can't, I've said you don't know how long you're gonna last, you don't know how long you're gonna live, you don't, but if you can work out what you think your needs are, using calculators or taking a little bit of time and keeping a little book on your spending, I think having a little bit of confidence that you know what you'll need to spend as early as possible can be helpful because then you can, implement some strategies to help you, deliver that income. But I would say that. So advisor, Money Smart, super fund, and then places like Challenger um, for for rich content.
And I think one of the things you just said then about having a notebook, just writing down some of this step, because it can be really overwhelming. That's absolutely, and I've helped a few people through divorce, and they sort of think, well, we're starting again, and sort of it does seem all overwhelming, even if they're sort of just on the financial side of it. And I just said exactly what I say. Just take a notebook. Just a step at a time, learn one little thing this time about maybe saving, or look at your debt, or look at your retirement or superannuation, just step by step and just take notes. It's amazing how something that feels so overwhelming, you can just sort of, it simplifies things. So no, I think that's a really good point. One of the things we did talk about earlier was that for people retiring, and these are these options, but Gen X now are in their 50s, and that's going to be another transition, how they see retirement, or even a lot of people saying they don't want to even say the word retirement, they want to talk about freedom. Fine, but it's still transitioning to this new life after work. But people are, or should, look at their retirement or this next stage 5 and 10 years, probably earlier than what people are actually doing. Most people say, "Oh, well, I'm going to retire next month. Maybe I should look at what I'm doing." Whereas, yeah, research shows the earlier you can prepare for this, the better. And I presume that's what you found as well.
Absolutely. We if you think about, again, just in the context of the happiness index and how much having a purpose can lead to a better retirement, a happier retirement, I think if you can have a plan for your purpose as early as possible, because then you can start thinking about how you might need to finance that, what the income you might need to have to align to that purpose could be. And if you work out that early enough, then you can see whether or not you need to take any actions to change it. So if you think to live a purposeful retirement looks like X, to fund it means Y dollars. Let's say if you're on track for that, fantastic. But if you're not, if you're doing it exactly as you said, Mark, 5 to 10 years earlier, then you've got this gift of time to do the different things that might help you achieve that that goal. So I think 5 to 10 years out, if you can start thinking about what you want your retirement to look like and then what it might cost to fund that through the little book, tracking your essentials expenditure. Nothing, nothing too scientific. You don't need to do that. Just, broadly speaking, what do I think I need? I think that's the best thing you can do.
Because I think, and I wrote the money sandwich, which was when I stopped being an advisor, because that was really the number one thing looking after pre-retiree clients. People just said, I wish I started this 5 years earlier. I wish I'd started this 10 years earlier. And, my hero couple in the intro is there at a dinner table with 50 other 50-year-olds, and someone's got their super done, or someone's got all these properties, and this couple just driving home after the dinner party said, geez, we have even, we're busy with our careers. We've got adult children we're looking after. We've got our elderly parents. We can't even think about retirement. But as you said, if you give yourself that time, have that little notebook, just write down things, and even talk to each other. It's amazing how couples will not talk to each other about, and they both have these preconceived ideas of what retirement looks like, and sometimes they don't match up. So it
Yeah.
really is, the earlier you can start, and I tell a lot of my friends, golf is not a purpose. You can't you may love golf and you'll be able to play more, but you can't do that 5. You need a mental challenge, you need meaning, you need purpose. And that volunteering that you actually started with, that was something that was really highlighted. I love that. I just think that's just so, because you don't have to, purpose doesn't mean you need to fund it, or sometimes it can just be you've at least thought about, well, what does your skill set, where can you take when work stops, what can you apply it? Because there's lots of organizations who are desperate for help and volunteers, and it's so rewarding.
Yeah.
Thank you for that, Mandy. It's been
Thank you.
so lovely just to chat to you about this, because I do think it's so important, because so many people have anxiety around it, and you can absolutely provide financial certainty and explain so well how that can happen. But one of the things I always ask my guests is, when we talk about advice, what's the best piece of advice you may have heard, whether that's financial or from family or from work, that you may have heard over the years?
I love this question. There's, I've been given so much wonderful advice and support by so many people over my career, but one of the pieces of advice that's always resonated with me personally, and it was given to me at the time I was really in that heightened part of my career, about to be made a managing director, and I was also had just had my first child, so really interesting time. And one of the senior men in an organisation, in the middle in a broader conversation, he said, "Mandy, don't assume you can't.
Mm.
Don't assume you can't." And then when I think about that in everything I do, and I align that to the potential to have the most wonderful retirement, I would say to people, don't assume you can't. No matter what, don't assume you can't, because this index tells you what makes people happy is achievable for all of us. And we've also just shared some really great financial tools to help as well. But don't assume you can't.
Brilliant way to finish. Thank you very much, Mandy, for being on our show today.
No, thank you for having me. It's been a pleasure. Thanks, Mark.
Great. I hope you enjoyed this, and if you'd like to learn more about Challenger, you can visit their website at www.challenger.com.au. Or feel free to reach out to me at admin@themoneysandwich.com, or visit our website, themoneysandwich.com, if you have any questions or would like to learn more. Enjoyed this episode and want to hear more of A Bite from the Money Sandwich? Make sure you subscribe on your platform of choice so you can automatically receive each episode as soon as it's released. As with every podcast, this information is not advice, as not personalised to your own situation, and past performance is never guaranteed for the future. What we are trying to do here is to provide tips, coaching and education to help improve your money knowledge, which we believe can only be a good thing. See you next time when we take another bite from the Money Sandwich.